Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of week again. Camera and Flask. How's everybody doing? We got a couple people in the chat. We'll say hi here in a second. So, gentlemen, we got the lovely Mr. Jem Schofield, looking Fuji film-esque.
Thank you.
Very sharp. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How about you, Caleb?
Good. A little sleepy, but probably not as sleepy as you guys. I feel like the baby every time we talk about stuff like this because I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. But Ben's on hanging off of oil rigs with gimbals, and Jem's, flying all over the U.S. doing everything.
I think Jem wins on that front this week. Look at him; he's broken.
I'm trying. I'm holding on for dear life.
Yep.
Okay.
And okay. Ben, you're on the road this week. What's up?
Yeah, I've been in the UK all week, but just kind of meetings. So I haven't really been. I shot 2 really short stills jobs, but really I'm very light kit. So I was in London last week for meetings. Then I've been in the Lake District for a few days, and now I'm in the greatest city on earth, which is, of course, Manchester.
Nice.
Really is. It's an amazing place. Love this city.
Well. Cool. We should just do some shout outs here. We've got Guillermo, aka Memo Montesinos. We've got Ben, 360 grad, Tony, Lakeshore Studio 4, Dan, as in Daniel Moore Photography, Sam Comer. We've got Sky London, Travis Patterson, Kyle, Gerald. Yeah, great to have everybody here.
How's everybody doing?
Missed last week. It was a bummer not doing Camera and Flask.
Yeah. It felt really strange. It was really odd.
Yeah. It was very interesting. So, shall we just dive right in?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, gentlemen, but I'm ready for some sipping. So,
have a thirst on, for sure.
Oh, I'm ready.
Ben, what's going on over there?
Yeah,
what do we got?
You're gonna need to do me first because we're gonna have to show the bottle, and then I'm gonna have to try and open it without a bottle opener. Without making myself this time. In the usual challenge of a hotel room and finding an implement to take a bottle off. So this week, because I don't get this in Czech, you can buy cider in the Czech Republic or something that has cider written on the bottle, but it is not. It is fizzy, disgusting, sweet crap. This, get the I have to pick that up. It's
called Aspal.
Aspals.
Oh, Aspal. Aspal. Sorry. I'm sorry. I misread that. I thought there was 2 S's and 1 L, and not 1 S and 2 L's.
Yeah. Okay. So this is properly mega dry cider at 7%. This is proper cider, the good stuff, which you can't get in the Czech Republic. So I'm treating myself while I'm back in the old country.
Is it dry? Is it a dry cider?
Yeah, really dry.
Good.
That's really dry. Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't want my Aspal any other way.
Open this with a teaspoon.
Oh no!
What? That's the name of the drink. I didn't say anything. Okay, fine.
So,
yeah, go away from me now while I just try and
get that. Oh, I hear success.
Well, you know, there's blood already.
Okay.
Oh, for God's sake!
This is the second time on the show. All right. Well, while you figured that out, Ben, Jem, what's up? What are we drinking?
It's simple today. I just went over to the cabinet. Didn't have a lot of time. It's a Tomatin. It's the port cask. Oh, crap. I should have grabbed the double cask. It's okay. I saw it. I didn't want to have a Kulela or a Lagavulin. I wasn't thinking I was in the mood for a smoky scotch today. So I'm having this. And I haven't opened this one in a while. So I'm going to give it a shot again and see how much I like it. Last time I was kind of like, meh. And it was more expensive than the double cask, which smells pretty good today, though. That's what I'm having. How about you, Caleb?
So this week...
Let's see the camera first. Reach over. Let's see the lens.
All right. Here we go. So this is getting more and more difficult as I'm in between cameras more and more.
I don't know what that means, but...
Okay. So this week...
No. Let's see the empty bottle. Let's see the empty bottle. Wait a minute.
I'm really excited about this one.
What is? Templeton Rye.
Really good.
It looks almost That's one of the fullest. That's maybe one of the fullest bottles we've ever seen you actually show.
I know. It's obviously not very good.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like this is
one
of the more empty ones.
Every week.
This stuff.
You are a stallion. You are the champion. Okay. It is unbelievable.
This stuff, I had 2 weeks this time. This was so hard not to finish and save for the show.
So you love it.
Love it. Like if I was going to be one of those guys with like a cabinet filled with the same drink, I'm pretty sure this would be it.
You're going to OG on it.
It is really, really, really good.
And
I'm a huge rye fan.
Can you give us the cost? The price about in US?
I'm trying to remember. I want to say 40.
Okay.
Around 40 for
okay, fine. But that would probably make a killer Manhattan or old fashioned.
Yes. Yeah, but even straight, it's just magical.
Delicious.
Fix this here.
45,000 barrels of bourbon gone. Yes, I read about that. It was bad.
Ooh, yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, I did. It was a Jim Beam warehouse. Hopefully that wasn't the Bookers, because that stuff would go up in price even more.
So what do we got in the chat here? What are you guys sipping on this evening? Water to wine.
I'm on Sailor Jerry's on ice, Sky London. All right.
Very, very good. Internal dust? Question mark. We got a question in there.
This is a question. Yeah. He's got a 3-parter here.
Okay.
Well, you're at an F-16, so that's the beginning with a vintage 135.
Yes.
Yeah. Stuff gets in those little buggers.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely vintage. Yeah, hold it up to a flashlight before you take it out and shoot with it. That's kind of my thing.
Oh, we got a
Yingling. Not even vintage.
Oh wait,
hey
guys,
oh my gosh, what's going on? I didn't even do my thing.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't. Oh, what's happening? We're so off after 1 week.
Glass.
Yes.
All right, here we go, gentlemen.
Okay.
Episode 33. And everyone in the chat.
Pal. And
bam. Cheers. What's going on, Baron? Monkey shoulder. I had a monkey shoulder something cocktail the other day.
Wait.
Nice.
Oh, finding.
Monkey shoulder.
All right. Chris is having first beer since his concussion. I don't know about the concussion. Sorry to hear that. Glad you are coming out of it. And somebody's having a strawberry daiquiri. Nice job.
Wow.
There you go, Kyle.
Yeah.
Sick.
Good for you.
Some tea. We got it all. Love it.
Good.
So as we go through this, guys, we're going to jump in today's topic. But we'd love to hear your favorite audio gear, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Various kit, what we like to use on a regular basis. So please let us know if you have any questions as we go along. And of course, if you're new, please say hi. It'd be awesome to do a quick shout out and make sure you're subscribed to get the stuff every single Wednesday. So how do we want to do this, gentlemen? I feel like Ben, you want to dive in? How do we want to do this? One item per person and just cycle through? Or do you want to kind of dive into the whole kit?
No, let's do item by item. That sounds good.
Okay.
Microphone. Microphone. So I'll start with the shotgun that I use mainly, which is an NTG3.
Nice.
Yeah. Which
I will show it because you don't have it with you. It is this microphone right here. It's yep.
And I love those because they're very forgiving when your talent goes off axis a little. It's so soft the way that they roll off. So I've always really liked those. And yeah, so that's it. I've had that for a long time. It's indestructible, as most of those are. I don't really know what else to say about that, really.
It's basically, well, I will say that it's essentially the same frequency response and pattern as a Sennheiser MKH 416, but for about $300 US less than that microphone costs. So that would be a good place for people to sort of think about that microphone if it was being compared to something similar out there on the market.
But again, going back to the point I made just before, that I find that more forgiving off axis.
Interesting. So it must be a little slightly different. Yeah.
Mm.
Slightly different. Yeah.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah. So what about you, Jem, for shotgun?
That's a good question. So I kind of have, most of the time when I'm outside and I'm doing small to no crew, I'm using lavalier systems. So when I go inside, I tend not to use the NTG3 because it has that tail on the back, right? So it's a little more directional, but it has the tail, and almost in every situation, there's some sort of HVAC, heating and air conditioning system that's happening in there. So I'm actually using this smaller microphone here, which is the NT55, which is a condenser mic. It has a cardioid pickup pattern as opposed to a supercardioid or a hypercardioid, which most of the other mics have on the market. And that means that the pickup, sorry about this, guys, with the stupid, for God's sake. So the pickup pattern is a little bit broader in the front, but there's no tail in the back. So I find that when I'm in interior locations that the NT55 is a better choice with that pickup pattern, which is just a tip for everybody. If you're inside, you might want to try a cardioid as opposed to super or hyper or shotgun pickup pattern or polar pattern. It also is, there's two mics that Rode make. There's the NT5 and the NT55. They're essentially the same cardioid capsule, but the NT55 has attenuation built into it, so you can do a -10 and a -20 attenuator. And it also has essentially what you call a high pass or a low cut filter. So same thing. It's just basically rolling off lower frequencies in the range. So you can set that to either -75 or -150 hertz dB. And so I just generally leave it 150 hertz and just roll off those lower rumbles and rarely use the attenuator. And I find that like on this last job I did, when I was doing the interior stuff, I didn't have a sound recorder, which we did have for the on-location stuff. And I used the NT55. I set it to 150. And then in camera, I actually set a limiter because I was directing. So I was monitoring audio and looking at the levels, but I wasn't really able to do much more than that. I was close enough to the camera. If I had to reach over, I could do something, but I activated the limiter just to make sure that I wasn't clipping, above 0 dB. And that's my mic.
So in terms of actually on camera, what are you using there?
Same thing, because when you use the NT55, even though your pickup pattern is a little broader, because it doesn't have that tail, you tend to pick up less handling noise on the camera. And I'm not usually using an on-camera mic for more usually than reference audio. But we were using 3 C200s, and two of them actually had NT55s on them for reference audio. And then we also turned on the internal mic, the monaural mic on there, just so that we had a backup on channels 3 and 4. And then we were, interestingly enough, I'll talk about the other mic that we were using for reference audio in a little while when we get to different types of mics. What about you, Caleb?
I'm kind of taking up the low end here with microphones like this. I don't know if I can get that in the shot.
Is that the Deity?
That's the actually the old Aperture Deity, but that's been replaced by the Deity S Mic 2.
Yep.
And it's essentially like a cheapo knockoff of the 416.
Yep.
Not quite the same. There's some good comparisons online, but really, really tough. Seems to work well. And I've been using that for my videos primarily. I do have a pencil condenser. What's the Russian one called? Maybe you guys can help me out. Is it the Octava? I've been using that. It's like a lot of guys like mod them and do random stuff to them, but they're really affordable used and new for that matter. You can buy them brand new still. Different capsules, so you can do an omni, cardioid, and supercardioid. But I had a question for you, Jem, when it comes with this. So if you are in a space that isn't the most quiet space, but there's nothing above the microphone, which mic do you reach for? Because I personally, there's some stupid fruit fly in here. I personally, more and more, I'm finding like I'm with the cardioid or the pencil condenser, like cardioid microphones.
Yeah.
Not hyper or super. It's just picking up a lot of other stuff, even if I kind of dial in my position of the mic.
Yeah. So
If it's like a room where there's an office building and there's other offices with people talking, that kind of thing.
yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you definitely want to then start to look at hyper or supercardioid in terms of polar patterns because there's better rejection on the sides of those microphones as well, generally within the within the mic itself. Sky is actually bringing up a mic which is really a favorite of a lot of people, which is the MKE 600.
Yeah,
Which is not very expensive, and a lot of people really like to use that. And the same goes for outside. I mean, an NT55 is not really the mic that you want to be using outside. Unless you're maybe shooting under a flight pattern for an airport or something like that. So if you're constantly hearing a continuous amount. When we were on this job, the sound recordist, we had to use Rode microphones for everything. And he did tests, and he actually liked the Rode NTG8, which is a beast of a microphone. It's super long, but I think it has very, very good rejection. It's not a mic that I've ever used, but we got that and the NTG3 for the production for shotgun mics. And he did a bunch of tests. He's been a sound recordist for, I don't know, 30 years. And he decided that the NTG8 was the right mic for him to use outdoors. But I mean, it's humongous in terms
those
of
low
mic.
bars, right?
I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like, when you have those like 70s and 80s cop movies and they're sitting in the car and there's always the joke that they're listening into an apartment block and then a bus comes by and their ears explode.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that microphone.
Yeah, it's huge.
I've been wanting to try a low bar microphone indoors just for kicks. Like wrap the tail of it in a sound blanket.
Yeah. Oh, I can
then
actually,
like sniper shot, like people screaming right next to me, and it's all good for the YouTube video.
Yeah, check this out really quick. I'll show you really quickly what it looks like. So just tell me, do you guys see that picture now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
look at that bad boy. Yeah.
You see how long it is?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the one. All right, I'm going to stop. So there you go. It's a beast. So yeah, and I'm not a sound recordist, so I'm using this stuff, and there's people out there who know a heck of a lot more about when to use what mics in certain situations. But I have found that for interior, a lot of the time, if the room's not too live and you do have HVAC problems and things that are happening above, that cardioid capsule can sometimes get you out of trouble. It doesn't mean that you should just have one, though. And that's why it's important to have at least a couple of capsules or a couple of different mics in your kit.
Yeah, I think that'd be smart, like a pencil style or some kind of super hyper and just a cardioid, even if it's a Rode Video Micro. Which maybe that's our next round is on cameras. And yes, Travis, thank you. Octava MK012. Who else? Yeah, AT875R. Nice. Yeah, I'd love to explore more in that kind of budget to intermediate because there's so many microphones out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
even Curtis can't keep up.
We're not talking about Shep's, microphones here, and we're not making investments into our audio kit the way a sound recordist would. Our big investments are generally similarly into lenses and continuing to buy lenses for our camera systems, whereas a sound recordist would continue to buy additional mics and other stuff for their kit.
Sweet. So round 2, Ben, any other microphones or is that it?
No, I also have a Video Mic Pro. I can't remember which version it is. It's the one that actually has the light on the back, so you know whether the switch is on with the 9-volt battery, which I bought specifically for a single job, I went to India without the correct paperwork to go to India to shoot a job, and was trying to look as much like a tourist as possible. So I didn't want to take big shotgun. So I bought one specifically for that, used it for that job, and was thoroughly just not overly impressed with it, really. And I don't think I've used it again since.
The Rode Video Mic Pro?
Yeah.
Huh.
Not because it's, I think just because it felt such a compromise from using the NTG.
Yeah.
Which was necessary for that job. And I also used lavs on that job as well. So it wasn't that was my only mic. And then everything else that I do, I've not found that I've needed to be that small. So I've not felt the need to use it as a main mic. It's great to have in the bag as a backup. I do still carry it around, but I very rarely use it. Well, almost never. Yeah. So that's my only other sort of mic that's not lavs, really. Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, I am always nervous about using a microphone that uses a battery when I'm using it for reference audio, especially if you're not slating, and that can be a problem. And you know, the Video Mic Pro Plus, if you use the rechargeable battery, I mean, that thing just goes for they say 100 hours. Even if it's 50, it's crazy. But when you're in real world production, you don't think in terms of that. You don't think in terms of the fact that, oh, I've had one production day and, oh, I can get another 4 to 5 production days out of that.
No.
The first thing you do when you go back to your hotel or back to your studio is you put the battery on charge. So I'm just always nervous about using batteries in that. And the Video Mic Pro, I mean, to what Ben is saying, you know, it's a pretty muddy mic overall. And if you could go in and you could boost, you know, the high end, if you could, you know, but we're not generally using a mic like that going into any type of mixer in any way. So you're not really adjusting it, and you're getting a pretty low endy microphone. And I just find that I prefer to use the NT55, or as Caleb said, the Video Micro, which happens to be, well, not battery operated, first of all, and just a pretty clean little mic. I mean, there's a little noise there. Obviously, some of that's being introduced by the preamps as well. But I'm pretty, I'm pretty impressed by it. And it's not that I won't use the Video Mic Pro Plus. We were using it on the production as well. But it's probably not the first microphone that I'm going for in terms of a mic in my kit.
Yeah.
Just on that again, in terms of the power. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear all the sirens and things going outside.
So you're in Manchester, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that was a big thing as well, because that uses the 9-volt batteries, the version I had.
Yeah.
And that in rural India, am I going to be able to find one of those? And they do last, but it is, even with the version that has the light that goes on in the back, which I think was the updated version, it's still very easy to leave that thing on.
AA. AA is the if you
on the AA, you can get something like an NTG 2.
Right.
You put a single AA in, and then you can get the adapter to run that straight into a jack on the side of the camera. Yeah.
The only problem I have with that microphone is it's not a very hot mic, and so you really are relying upon the preamps in whatever you're using when you're using NTG2. It's just not very hot, And then there's the NTG4, which is obviously a little bit of an upgrade, but not as good as the NTG3 in terms of a mic.
Correct.
Yeah.
When it comes to on camera, I think those are a phenomenal way to get started. Like, get in the game, good sound for not too much, and then as you upgrade, hang on to those and use them as like scratch or backup mics.
Yeah.
So like back when I got my first big boy shotgun microphone, for me at least, it was a big boy. It was not. I don't even remember what it was. I used my original Rode Video mic as like a backup or scratch. So I would put it on a mic stand or a light stand and get it close to the talent, but not like set it up like you would a shotgun. But if something went down and something happened with your main sound source, you've got a pretty decent backup. You know, it's not like you
Yeah.
have it on the camera. So, or if you're doing dual system sounding, you need a little more reach because
Yeah.
your subject's far away. That stuff's great.
But
No,
you're a big fan of the Deity, the V mic, right? The D3 Pro.
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
and that's got a dial in terms of being able to change your gain as opposed to just fixed gain settings. So
Right.
you can dial in a lot more specifically, and you're happier with that in general if you're using that kind of mic. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay.
and I love that you can do XLR phantom powered with it,
Mm,
or it'll work with that. So certain devices, like once you get pretty high up, you like sometimes phantom power is your only option, or XLR is your only option, and so
yeah.
that'll work with that. And I'm toying with this wireless setup where I use that with a wireless transmitter. Man, this fruit fly, this one stupid
We're having a
fly.
fruit fly problem at our
Yeah,
place
we are.
too. No, we're having a fruit fly problem at our place. I came back from my trip and I was like, where did all these fruit flies come
Yeah.
from?
And then the Rode Video Micro is gold. Honestly, I think Rode should stop selling anything but their Pro. The two Pros, I think they should keep making the older Pro, the new Pro, and then the Micro, and drop
Mm,
the Go and the original. Do they even sell? They shouldn't. I don't, but I think they still do. The original
yeah,
or
I think
or
they
the
do.
second generation, the red one. But yeah, Deity D3 and the Deity Mic 2. I would
Hmm.
love to try the MK600, I believe it's called, right?
Yeah, MKE
Um,
600. Me too.
MKE 600. I'd love to
Yeah.
check that out. And a lot of that, like $200 to $400 range, there's some stuff I'd love to explore. But, you know, there
I
you go.
used to sound record us in New York, Tom Bergen, and he liked that MKE 600.
Mm,
Didn't use it all the time. I mean, they have a they've got a toolbox, so they go into a room and they try to pick the mic that's going to be best for the room. And the same with lavalier mics. They might be using a COS 11 on one job, and then they'll use a tram mic, like a 50 on another job. They might use a B6 from Countryman on another job, and they know not only based on environment but the talent and their speaking voice in terms of what would be the right microphone for that application. So
love
hire the
it.
pros when you can, for sure.
Shall we do a lightning round of wireless? I think people know roughly what we're working with there, but
Yeah, let's
maybe
do
we'll
it.
fly
Yeah.
through. And I'm
Yeah,
going
I'd
to
love
change
to.
a battery. So, Ben, go. Wireless
Uh,
audio.
So my wireless system is the Sennheiser G3
Mhm.
transmitter and receiver kit, which I really like. I've had no problems with it. I've always managed to find clean frequencies on its search function that it has. So if you're going into an area that's full of all kinds of radio traffic, it'll scan the 12 banks of channels. It'll tell you what's free. Yeah, been a very solid piece of kit. The mic that came with it is not great, so I now use that with a Rode lav mic, which is great. It's got their connector on, which you can then switch out to have it into the wireless system, or you can then put the XLR attachment on, and you can put that in direct on an XLR cable in direct to camera as well. So I like that mic and those receivers and transmitter set. Very solid. Very happy with that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it for that, for wireless for me. And you're on the 2-channel Sony.
Yeah, so
system.
it depends on what I'm doing nowadays. I've been finding that for the live streams that I've actually been quite happy with the wireless Go system from Rode.
Mm.
But what I'm doing is I'm using the thing with their lavalier mic, at least their standard lavalier, not the one that comes with the filmmaker kit, because that's hardwired.
Yeah.
To the transmitter. But this particular one, you basically just unscrew this, and then you can adapt it to virtually any connection system that's out there. So
That's the same mic I've been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a Micon 7. So that, I think, is for Electrosonics. I've got the Micon 8, which I use for Sony. The Micon 2 is just a flat one that you would use with the wireless Go because it doesn't have any threading on it at all. So it just sits flush to the thing. And then the Micon 1, which is somewhere, I don't have it here, but looks the same, would be the one that you would use with the Rode system. They have one for Sennheiser. So you just have to have the right Micon adapter for the system that you're using. And they even have a Micon right here, which is the Micon 5, and it's basically the lavalier going to XLR. And what's great about that is if you have the opportunity, you can buy an extension cable for your lavalier and you can hardwire. So if you wanted to just do a hardwired interview with a lavalier mic, you could go Rode Lav to Micon 5, which would go to XLR. If your camera has XLR input, and you could do a hardwired Lav as well. So it's a very versatile system overall. For me, the wireless Go is very interesting because of the price. And one of the things that we did on this job in Atlanta is we had a Ronin S with a C200 on it. And then it was this kind of, we wanted to use the new SteadyMate S, which would, from Steadicam, which is the vest and the arm. And then you get the, you get that fourth axis for your vertical movement. But it's not out yet. There was one of them. It's like a prototype that was at Cine Gear and then had to go back to Europe. So we didn't get that. So James built this kind of like YouTube-based rig where we had his Steadicam vest and arm, and then we rigged it to basically the Ronin S. And it's a little janky. It's not going to give you the same access control that you get. But we were trying to figure out, we're kind of like right at weight capacity, and we were going to try to put a mic on there. And then I realized, why don't we just put the wireless Go on there right into the cold shoe? So we put a wireless Go without a microphone attached to it on the top of the C200, and it has a built-in microphone on the wireless Go, and we use that for reference audio. And it was incredibly lightweight, and it was just sitting on top, just right there on the top. It basically added no weight to the C200, and he was getting better reference audio than he would have if he was using the built-in mic on the C200. Like you said, Ben, yeah, it was cool. So my kind of go-to every day is the Sony UWP system. And I mainly use the P03D, the URX P03D, which is a dual channel receiver. So I can pull in two different sources into this. So I can either use a plug-in transmitter or I can use two regular, basically body packs. Or I can use two plug-in transmitters. So you get lots of flexibility. I do use the Sony mics if I'm not worried about how big the mic looks. But if I'm worried about how big the mic looks, then I'll use the Rode lavalier mic to that Micon 8 adapter, and I'll just plug that into here. So that's kind of my standard. I have all the adapters. I usually go hardwired into the camera because I'm usually using Canon. But if I am using Sony, I have all the appropriate adapters for that multi-shoe so that I can go in wirelessly into the camera. I can go digital. So basically the receiver sits in here, and then it passes the audio data digitally down into that camera system, whether that's an A7 series or let's say an FS5 series or FS7 series camera. So I'd say that that's pretty much my go-to in terms of wireless. We do use a filmmaker kit every once in a while. My biggest issue with it is it's pretty big in terms of size. It's kind of like the wireless Go is the opposite of that. And they're actually making a dedicated lavalier, by the way, for the wireless Go that will be coming out.
With those two systems, what's the difference in range between those two, between the filmmaker kit and the Go?
Well, big. Well, the Go and the filmmaker kit, I don't know. On paper, I would say that it's probably not much different because they're both 2.4 gigahertz systems. And I think there's a good conversation to have, that there's a lot of different types of systems out there that you're using in terms of your transmitter and receivers, but they can basically be put into two basic categories. One is sort of a, you don't need a license and it's on a 2.4 gigahertz system. The advantage to that is that it usually does automatic hops like any system does to find a clear channel. But the disadvantage is that your distance between your transmitter and receiver is considerably shorter. When you go into a band frequency-based system, when you're talking about a wireless transmitter and receiver, you're basically within a certain block of frequencies, and then you pick frequencies within that, and there's generally a much better distance in terms of how far that transmitter and receiver can be from each other. And you just have to be careful that that you're picking a block and frequency range that is appropriate for the geographical region that you're using it. So you don't have to worry about that with 2.4 gigahertz systems. You can get on an airplane and go anywhere in the world. But I have found that you could run into problems in situations where, let's say, you were in a trade show. Think about how much is going on that 2.4 gigahertz sort of range, and it makes me nervous when I'm using that in those situations.
And just on that, in terms of the geographical changes that you get in terms of the licensed frequencies. So if you can go and buy a used one off eBay, the exact same G3 kit that I have, and you get one from the US, that uses a block that is illegal to use in Europe. And I think
illegal. It's actually illegal. Yep.
Yeah. So you've not just frowned upon, it is illegal. So you do need to be quite careful about that and check. And if you're going to fly to a different territory, check what it is, and you might have to rent in kit for that.
Yeah. And 64 haps with a small Z. I think the Wireless Go is great for vlogs and interviews here and there. I think once you start to get into jobs where you're making money on the job, I think it's better to make a little bit of an investment. I would rather have a threaded microphone situation where if I'm using a lav, I can actually thread it in there. You can unplug from, it's fine. It's not an issue, but I mean, this is, I can pull this out relatively easily. And if you have a threaded mic, then you can't do that. It's just one more.
Or the connector will turn and you'll get that.
Yes, exactly.
Sound.
Absolutely. What about you, Caleb? What are you using for wireless nowadays?
Yeah. So first, I just want to say, what's up, Color Post Blog? Great dude. As well as Sam, film guy, Curry shot you, and digital filmmaker. Welcome, guys. Some folk showing up in the second half of the show.
Yeah, some new people too, which is awesome. And don't forget to subscribe. I mean, if you
please,
if you get something from this,
so wireless. Currently the Go is really fun, exciting. We're kind of, for reasons that will become apparent, creating a couple different kits for our production here. One is the ACAM stuff. Another one is a on the go kind of man on the street run and gun setup, which consists of an A7 III with the Rode Video Mic Go and the Rode Lav, which seems super imbalanced, but it works, right? A decent wireless solution with a great mic, I think, is wonderful, as Jem is using. Pretty much same thing.
Right.
And then we're using the Deity, the brand new Connect, which has been so far pretty solid. It's not perfect. It's probably one of the higher latency wireless systems. Actually, I've got a bag that I'll be talking about, a very specific, ridiculous setup here in the future. But there's the receiver. It's massive. It's kind of covered up by handles. I'll put the antennae up. But what's cool is it's dual band, similar to what Jem's rocking. But with that, the reason it has a high latency, I think it's 19 milliseconds, which doesn't sound like much, but that's enough. The reason for that is as it'll actually catch issues before it transmits to the receiver. So the transmitters are, that's why there's a delay there. It's checking stuff. So if it's like, whoa, we're about to encounter some issues with our connection, it'll deal with that before it transmits. So it's a pretty solid system, and it's not necessarily the most noise free of all the options out there today, but it has just ridiculous amount of features. Built-in batteries, can be powered off of USB-C. And then one of my favorites is you can control anything that the transmitter has in the menu, you can access from the receiver. So you can essentially set up 2 microphones and have complete control over those from the camera or wherever you're mixing, if it's an audio bag or whatever. So I'm excited to play with like a wireless, shotgun or boom mic mixed with a lav all in one little audio bag. And it's like 600 and change. It's a ridiculously affordable when you consider all that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've used the Rode Link, very solid and crazy. Just today before the show, I realized I was trying to use my Rode Lav with my Deity setup, and it was just sounding terrible. Like it needed the screw connector, I think, almost like there was like a grounding issue.
Yeah.
That was going on. So when you squeeze the connector, it was fine. So I was like, crap, I don't have the threaded connector for my Rode Lav. I only have the XLR and the flat.
Got it. Yep.
So I was like, I'm gonna have to order that, and I just ordered a bunch of stuff, and I hate that, when you like do an Amazon order and you miss one little thing that's $20.
I know, I hate it.
It's the first world problems. So I get home and I realize I've got the Rode Link system with its mic, and maybe I can just use that because it's the same mic, right? Ish. Do we know? Honestly, no.
Am I allowed to say it's the same mic, but it's hardwired? I could say that.
Here's the thing, it's not hardwired.
Which one are you talking about?
I got all DIY and I clipped off the there's a sleeve there. There's a shrink wrap.
Yes.
And all they did was, as far as I know, use a little bit of super glue and thread it on the same connector.
It might be true.
Put on a heat shrink. So I just clipped off the heat shrink and undid it, and it works.
And then it has the thread.
Yeah.
The mic on.
It's with the same lettering on the side and everything.
Yeah. So the thing is, so the original filmmaker kits that shipped didn't have that little sleeve, and so they added the sleeve later on. So you heard it here. I didn't say anything. Caleb's the one talking, so
Yeah, so I unthreaded it and put it on my Rode Lav. So I don't know what the other one is. I'm gonna have to do an A/B test to see what's going on here. If it's actually a fully fledged Rode Lav with some super glue and a shrink wrap. Anyway, and then the only other thing I want to mention, I swore I brought it over here, but the Tascam, what is it? The little DR10?
The one that can record, right?
Yes, it's a recorder. It's not a wireless Lav.
No, yeah. So
for around, I think it's like $100 or so, 120. It's a wonderful backup.
Can we have a little discussion about Rode thinking about making a slightly larger version of the Wireless Go with a micro SD card slot and allowing us to do that? Sorry. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Because if they could just take this and have a micro SD card slot and you could just pop something on somebody and just record, that would be pretty exciting. And basically what I want them to do is make one that's just slightly larger to have the electronics in there, and then put the screen that's on the actual receiver on this as well. Yeah. So that when you press record and everything, you can see and have confidence. And they just need a lock switch on there as well. So that once you start recording, you can basically have a positive lock switch with a safety so that you can't accidentally stop it from recording. So it's not rocket science, people. Just make the product. You'll have tons of sales for every single person who does event and wedding videos and filmmaking, because they want to pop that into the jacket of somebody and they don't always have time to have a transmitter receiver situation. Just saying. That's all I have to say.
But even on top of that, because those things, and using the older system that was using the 2.4, that I had a really lovely bit to camera. We had this walker coming up this path, and it was quite a long thing, and she hit a point and the signal went to shit, and that was that. And to have that as the backup, to be able to pull that back off, just as a backup for what's coming into camera on the wireless, would be amazing.
Well, can we talk about this right now? You have the Smart Lav Plus, and it's like what, $69. I can't tell you how many times this has gotten me out of a pickle, because I've had situations where we just need audio. There was a job that I did once where we were done. for the day, and we had to get audio for something, and all of the equipment was packed up, and I just took my iPhone and I plugged in the SmartLav Plus, and we just mic'd somebody up, and we just got the audio. You know, clean it up a little bit with isotope, you know, with voice to noise, and away you go. So there's just so many little things that you can have in your kit. And then when you start to actually use lavalier mics, you don't always want to see those mics. So you can get things like this, like the COS 11. If you're using the Rode Lav, it's tiny. So you can use the COS 11 thing. They make this in a darker and a lighter color. But LMC Sound makes basically things to attach mics in any way. LMC Sound.
I'm gonna check that out. I was just
They,
looking
and
at all
like
that
this is like this is like a little furry version of the one, and it actually has a furry, and the mic sits inside of there, and then I just stick the mic in there, and you just use some basically double stick tape, wig tape, and you can just attach that anywhere. So all of those little things are killer when you're working with these mics.
Love it. So we're gonna have to lightning round a couple categories here. First of all, 64 Haps. I'm so sorry I missed you, dude. You're new, right? Love seeing you here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So here's the deal. We're gonna lightning round through first and foremost, dual system or single system or both. Ben, quick response. Single system, straight to camera, or do you do recorder? Both?
Nearly always straight to camera now. I used to do dual, but now pretty much straight to camera. Yeah.
Jem.
Simple answer. When I'm hiring a sound recordist, it's always double system sound. And when it's me and it's running gun or it's very small crew, it's always single system to camera, but generally with 2 microphones. So we'll usually boom and lav in those situations.
Smart. Okay.
And you?
Dual system. I went like I gotta have single, and then I went back.
Golden child, Mr. Mix Pre. Hello.
But that little run and gun setup, you gotta go direct. All right, we're moving on. Recorders, preamps. Do you mess around with any of that stuff, Ben? Obviously, you run the camera.
No, I'm certainly not preamps now. Everything I'm reasonably happy with. Everything's sort of clean enough on the cameras that I have right now. I think it's okay. I still have a Zoom, an H4n.
Beast recorder.
Yeah, just useful thing. I honestly tend to use that more just DIing XLRs into the USB connection onto a laptop. That's what that gets used for mostly these days. But yeah, so straight in for the most part.
Jem, recorders, preamps?
Not much anymore. I used to use the Juice Link stuff when I was going into, you know, earlier DSLRs and getting quieter, you know, sound into my system. Now that I'm using these systems, I mean, XT3 actually seems okay, and it's fine for this kind of stuff. And then usually I'm processing audio a little bit in post anyway with a little bit of RX from isotope. So not a lot in terms of having extra GAC on my cameras. I would, you know, if I had the choice on an XT3, I'd rather have an external monitor that's also powering my camera than having a preamp on there. It's not that I don't care about audio. I care about it immensely. Right. But if I'm going to go in there and apply a LUT in post, or I'm going to do something else, it doesn't take a long time to also apply an audio filter and just tweak it a little bit. And I'm no expert in terms of that, but I can definitely clean up some of that ambient noise. But we always roll on room tone when we're doing production and hand that off to people in post. And if they need to do a little noise print in order to basically take out that frequency, we did that on this last job because, you know, there were doors opening and there was an AC system. We kept the AC consistent the whole time, but then the talent said to us one day, I think the AC might have gone off, so we forced it off so we could do room tone that way. Somebody opened up a door to another room, which was where the HVAC system was, and it was kind of far from where we were recording, but I rolled room tone on that as well. So you just do what you can to give whomever is in post as much as they can have to solve the issues. That's all I gotta say.
Nice. Okay.
What about you? Well, you're going to the mix pre, so you are double system a lot. for most part.
Double system, so recorder, preamp kind of combined. Otherwise, I feel for certain cameras, I love using a legit preamp. But like you said, I just for the first time ever, thanks to Jem, downloaded or purchased and downloaded RX.
Yeah.
Elements Suite. They have so many options. So Jem helped me out with that. And it's stupid good. It's ridiculous. So at this point, it's getting to the point where just plug it into the camera and call it a day.
Right.
The
Well, I have a question for you though. Do you ever go through the mix pre and then from the mix pre directly into camera? So you're not technically doing double system sound, but you're processing what's going into the camera and using those cleaner preamps. Is that also a workflow or not really for you?
For my like premium content where it's like we don't have time to be dicking around with having to reshoot stuff.
Yeah.
We definitely do that. And back when I did production, that's always what we did is dual system and single system, that kind of hybrid, you know, where you send an output. For YouTube, I just dual system, and as long as I see something on my levels for my camera, it's just easier because you can move things around. I have a stand with all the audio setup on it, so it's just easier. But yeah, I think a hybrid is obviously I think the best way to go because you've got, you know,
I'll be right back.
Both places. Sure thing.
Keep going.
And then I love the Mix Pre 3 just because it's so clean. It's not raw audio like that news. What is it? The H6, which I've pre-ordered.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to try. And 6 microphones. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and my head is really struggling to process.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it and then try to figure out how to explain what's happening. Yeah, I want to just show people the second it lands, just go literally turn all the dials down and then see what happens in post.
Yeah,
but the Mix Pre 3 is incredible in that you can raise audio 20, 30 dB and it's clean. It's a great device. It's amazing how clean it is. So we kind of set the dials to where we're, you know, -12, and then, you know, whatever it throws at us, we can handle. It's got analog limiters. So it's just a beast. So I love that thing, but the H6, I'm curious to see what that's like. Otherwise, the RX stuff is amazing. Anything else?
I want to talk about this. Can I talk about this for a second?
Sure, go for it.
So this is Dean Miles. He's a sound recordist mixer from Canada, and he has a book, but he also has an entire audio course called. I think the course is also called Camera Audio Simplified. And you just need to look up Dean Miles. And this guy really has done it right. I've met Dean before. I've learned a lot. I still have more time to spend on this. And so if anybody wants to buy, maybe not his whole course initially, but just wants to get the book, again, it's called Camera Audio Simplified from Dean Miles. And I would recommend this book wholeheartedly for anybody who is in a small to no crew situation, who cannot hire a sound recordist. And if you look up his name, you'll find that there's a ton of additional content. He has created very, very in-depth audio. And then also MZ Pro now has this ridiculous like 80-hour audio sound recording course, which goes much deeper than what Dean does because it goes into other parts of audio recording for feature films and for Foley and other things. This is really this is like audio for camera operators. And that's what 99.9% of us need. So check this out at some point and put that on your Amazon book list and thank me later. That's all I got.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the MZ is legit. If it's the same one that they did the live tour, so good.
Yeah, that guy is a monster.
So we didn't get to some things like you know, boom poles, grip equipment for audio, cables. I'm sure each of you, like I, have a sack of just miscellaneous adapters, splitters, mono, all that stuff. You got to carry it with you. I thought we could jump into some Q&A because there's some questions kind of rolling around down here.
Do it.
First, we got one up here. Would you shoot weddings at 10-bit?
That's the one I was going to pick up. Yes. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, and on the GH5 and 5S, everyone should check out if you have the camera. There's a mode where it's 150 megabits a second, but it's 10-bit. So you don't have to go all the way to 400, and that's what I use pretty much universally. So you get 422 10-bit at 150. It's obviously not going to be as good, but you're getting into that good enough land for me. I would do that. And then Clay is asking, which plugin from Isotope do you guys use? Voice denoise comes with RX7 standard. Do you guys use RX7 advanced? I just bought the RX7 Element Suite. It's like 200 $200 or something.
Yeah, 149 I think on sale.
Well, they
Yeah.
lied.
If you
that was
What
a
do you
lie
mean
on
lied?
their website.
They have
but
crazy good offers, but not that a couple of times a year.
yeah. So that's what I've got. The advance was a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah, you don't need to go there. Yeah. But the one that you got, does that have the D reverb as well? I think so.
Yes, and it has a couple. It has this really cool voice one. I can't remember what it's called. It's got some weird name, but it's lets you mess with voice quality. You know, NPR settings, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of cool. And yes, Curtis Judd is literally the best.
Yeah, just
everyone should just subscribe to him. There's no question there.
He's so tall that it also helps his audio quality. He's like a giant shotgun mic with side rejection. That's basically what he is.
You just throw a microphone into a tree, and then there's
he is basically he's an Ent from
really
Lord of the Rings anyway. So
true.
I'm the exact opposite of him, and then we're basically like steps to Curtis. We did a picture with him, didn't we, guys?
Yeah.
At the
I should dig it up.
At the Atomos thing. Yeah.
Crazy. Any other questions you guys seeing here? Thoughts on using a XT3 as a B cam to a C200?
No.
Okay, there you go.
Jem.
Well, no, don't do it. Just get two XT3s. I'm not saying that I don't like the.
Yeah. Maybe try the EOS R.
It's okay.
Armando Fiera on YouTube has a lot of good videos on matching the two.
And they do match. I have both those, and they work great together.
Yeah, what right here?
What do?
EOS
yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, and the EOS. Yeah, exactly. You know what?
You just got to make sure you change the into color space.
Okay, to what though? What do you usually do?
To the original C-Log.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
Rather than C-Log 2 or 3, because the EOS R only has the original one, but they work great together.
Ken is not watching, but it's been a long time since I shot with the R. I need to get that puppy back out.
It's a great camera. I'm loving that thing.
My wife keeps taking it though. It's hers pretty much now, so
that's fine. That's good.
And the latest firmware is fantastic with it. It's a really good camera.
Oh, yeah, IAF, right? Any other questions, guys, as we wrap this puppy up? Why are so few full-frame mirrorless systems not supporting DCI 4K? Good question. That's a whole discussion, man. UHD versus DCI. I know there's some technical going on there, but
what's the question? Wait, where's this?
Why aren't full-frame cameras supporting DCI?
Well,
I mean, it's more resolution, but I think the kind of greater question that ties into that is UHD versus DCI. I think DCI is just kind of, I mean, that was the 4K at the beginning, but now UHD is just dominating.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the reality is that DCI 4K is a 17:9 aspect ratio format, and everything that we deliver to, for the most part, is 16:9. So if for some reason you need those extra pixels horizontally, then you could shoot DCI 4K. But when it even comes to theatrical distribution, any 4K projector can essentially project at any aspect ratio. So there isn't necessarily a reason, if you're trying to create high-end content, for you to have to do DCI 4K. What's more important is if you're creating content for something that you want to be on, let's say Netflix, that you have to have a Netflix approved camera system. But that is not dictated by resolution. It's dictated by, it is dictated by resolution, but it's not dictated by DCI 4K. You can absolutely shoot UHD 4K for Netflix. And then there's, you know, some other things that they need to have. Yeah. So, we've got a post question.
Yeah.
Before the pitter patter. Do you want to just read that really quick?
Sure. Do you guys? How do you guys edit videos externally? MacBook Pro storage, eating space, editing 5 minutes video, 360 cam. Yeah, you gotta hook up externally.
Yeah, that's the only
no
way.
question. Unless you're gonna be a baller and get like a 2 terabyte drive. In a perfect world, that's what I would do. 2 terabyte SSD or more, 2
Internally,
to
you mean?
4 internally, and do current projects on that and keep everything else off. But these days, I mean, it's pretty cheap to do USB-C, Thunderbolt, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then we should acknowledge the top, the top ones in the industry, Sheps and Lectrosonics and stuff like that. I mean, Lectrosonics, if you have the money, they're tiny little wireless transmitter and receivers, but those are really for sound recorders.
Or they're 12 input or 10 input. What is it? $10,000 to $20,000 preamps and recorders.
Is that all it is?
Pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty great.
Yeah. Easy deal.
The pitter patter of little children above his head are happening in the Midwest. So I think we've got to wrap this up. Caleb, you want to take us out?
Yeah. What a wonderful discussion with all you beautiful, beautiful faces. I love seeing all these little circles of joy here in the chat.
Great topic today. I actually really enjoyed
64, and we had a couple of people that were kind of new. So thank you so much for joining us. This thing that you're watching right now happens every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and then all the other places that I can't do the math on right now. So make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week, same time. Jem?
Thanks, everybody. Yep.
Ben?
Loved it. Ben, any parting words?
No, we'll see you next week, where I'll be in the Czech Republic again with a decent internet connection. So looking forward to seeing you again then, when I'll be all crystal clear and not pixely again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for coming to the channel. As Caleb said, every week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. British summertime, and midnight CET. And thanks again. Love you guys. Love everybody.
Have a great 4th. Happy Independence Day for you.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy tomorrow. We won't be drinking.
Don't blow stuff up.
What?
Don't blow too much stuff up.
No.
And Godspeed.
Yeah. Godspeed, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.